Welcome in everybody to our second episode of Flight into Enemy Territory. I'm Luke Grant from Play Like a Jet, and we're joined by a very special guest for New York Patriots Week. We have Mark Schofield here from the NFL Wire and USA Today. Mark, you ready to talk a little Patriots Jets?
I'm very excited. I love Patriots Jets Week. It's one of my favorite weeks, the two times we get it each year. So I'm excited to dive in. Going to be a fun one.
Yeah, for those who missed Mark joining us on Play Like a Jet Live, one of the best college quarterbacks to play the game. So make sure I note that as always. So.
That's an absolute lie, Luke. Come on. You can't lie to the viewers and listeners like that.
Appreciate you coming on and giving us some of your time, Mark. I wanted to start with the Patriots offense because Mac Jones is obviously the topic. Two rookie quarterbacks with Jones and Wilson. Give me your overarching thoughts on Mac Jones. When I watched the tape, I thought he was quick with his decision-making, 3-step drops, 5-step drops. You saw the old New England offense, lots of hitches, get the ball out quickly, smart decisions. Tell me everything you thought about Mac Jones's performance.
Well, Luke, I think you kind of encapsulated it pretty well. This was very much a return to the quick game offense we saw for years under Tom Brady, really much an emphasis on quick decision-making from the quarterback, try to get the ball out of his hands into athletes in space to maximize yardage after the catch. There were some more vertical concepts, some of which he took, some of which he didn't. Most notably, there was a route concept where he had the post route to Jacoby Myers working against Jason McCourty, and he was a bit late with that. Well, not so much late with the read, but he tried to put air under that throw. And he has to learn, look, he's not throwing at Jalen Waddle and Devonta Smith and guys like Najee Harris against Missouri. Like, this is the NFL. Guys like Jason McCourty, they're going to close those windows. And so there will be moments when he's going to have to try to put more velocity on the football. And so that was a missed opportunity. They had some vertical concepts as well. He had sort of a safety splitter against Nelson Aguilar, to be cover two. They had a go flat play where he hit the go route against the cover two look. He showed some ability to manipulate defenders with his eyes, flash the ball at times to get guys to commit in the secondary. And so he made some sort of experienced quarterback type plays, yet it was his first NFL start. So I think there was some stuff that he showed that was very positive. There were some missed opportunities. There will certainly be some things that he could clean up and that this offense can clean up generally. But as far as first NFL starts go, I think it was pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean this in the best possible way. He looked like the Mac Jones of the preseason, and that's a good sign when it looks the same. Obviously Zach Wilson was a very different game for him with the pressure he was under. I liked the poise Mac Jones showed. That was fantastic. But Mark, what did you think overall of the weapons around him? There's been a lot of talk about the wide receiver room. The tight ends were both there. Hunter Henry was questionable coming in. He played as well. They only scored 16 points. What do you think about the explosion or maybe lack thereof of this offense? It might not be the calling card, but do you think there's enough there?
I mean, it's hard to say that there's enough there after week one. Now, there were some turnovers. And I think if you had asked Patriots fans on, say, Saturday morning, look, they're going to have the football down one at the plus 11 with 3 minutes to go with a chance to take the lead. They would have taken that. They would have thought, look, the offense is playing well. Unfortunately, they fumbled that game away. And so they didn't really get a chance to put up as much, the kind of points that they could have, the Stevenson fumble early, the Damian Harris fumble late, but I think this is a team that's going to win more with the ball control passing game. I very much liken it to the first couple of years under Tom Brady, right? They weren't really an explosive passing game yet. It was very much a ball control, get it to matchups you like, either it's out of the backfield or to the tight ends. Rely on the defense a bit to give you some short fields and some easy scoring opportunities. And that's going to be their recipe to win, I think. Explosive plays, I think, might come. It will be more schemed up. It's not an offense where you can say, look, our wide receiver here is going to win downfield on a vertical route, whether it's a post, whether it's a go, whether it's a double move. We trust this guy to win one-on-one. It's going to be more manufactured via scheme, via play action, shot plays out of 12 or 21 personnel, or even 22 personnel. You might see some things like that. It's not going to be a situation where an alpha receiver is just going to win downfield. They don't really have that kind of guy. Nelson Aguilar can flash in spurts. Jacoby Myers can flash in spurts. And I think the two tight ends, John Smith, Hunter Henry, can give you some favorable matchups in the passing game from New England's perspective, but it's going to be manufactured via scheme in terms of explosive plays rather than just, we've got a guy that's going to go win. Now let's get him the football.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think there's some nice pieces. Nelson Aguilar has that explosive playability. I think he'll give Mac Jones that outlet. Obviously, we saw the seam shot down the middle to split cover two. But look, we're going to see this week against the Jets. The good news is the Jets don't have a ton of talent back in the secondary and in their back seven in general, Mark. We were talking before we went on that I personally thought Michael Carter II, who played the slot for the New York Jets, had a terrific game in his first performance. Myself and Clay have been really high on him for a while now. And then conversely, the linebacking group, they have Nasruddin, a rookie, and then Sherwood, their rookie middle linebacker, gets hurt. So they're bringing linebackers in off the street. The New England Patriots were in 12 personnel 63% of the time. They played 11, just 34%, which is one of the lowest in the NFL last week. I had a question for you about this offense, though, because last week when they were in their 12 personnel looks, they ran the ball heavily. It was like nearly 70% of the time, 65% of the time, I think it was. When they were in 11, they passed 71 to 79% of the time, somewhere in that area. Do you think Josh McDaniels was a little predictable in we're in this personnel grouping, this is what we're doing with the football?
I think they were a little bit predictable, Luke, and that's a really good point about, the way they used that 12 personnel. I think this week, given what you just talked about with the linebackers, you're going to see them probably use 12 personnel, maybe even more. Try to keep them in sort of those quote unquote base personnel packages, with more linebackers on the field, 4 defensive back packages, and then try to throw out of that. Try to get those tight ends lined up against linebackers. Try to get James White out of the backfield matched up against linebackers. One of the more explosive plays they had last week was that wheel route. I'm on the right sideline to James White matched up against the linebacker. They're going to try to do that. So much of what the Patriots do is a week-to-week matchup-based game plan. They're not somebody that says, look, we're 12 personnel, we're going to run every week. It's we're 12 personnel, we're going to take our matchups. I think last week, if you're looking at that Miami defense on paper, you see guys like Byron Jones, you see the guys they have in the secondary. Do you think we want to run the football? We want to try to run against that front. Now, this week, you see what they have in the New York Jets on the linebacker group at that level. You think, look, we're going to go more play action, 12 personnel, throw the ball a bit more, try to take our chances because that's the better matchup this week, that is as opposed to last week against that Miami secondary.
Yeah, expect to shift out of 12 in particular. They passed the ball a little bit out of 21. They only had, I think, 6 snaps in 21, which is a little surprising to me. They didn't have the fullback in a ton, but I think you'll see more of those 2 personnel groupings, as you said, Mark. Let's flip across now to the defensive side of the ball. And for the Jets, Corey Davis was pretty clearly our best receiver and probably our best player on the field in that game. It was nice to see him have a couple of touchdowns, 90-plus yards. How do you think Bill Belichick will handle him? Because he's not a traditional number 1 receiver. Last week, we saw J.C. Jackson just line up over Devontae Parker and go one-on-one. In the past, he's put the 1 on the 2 and then bracketed the 1. I know Corey Davis isn't like, oh, man, we've got to stop Corey Davis. But how do you think Belichick will handle that in these man coverage looks?
Yeah, trying to figure out how Bill Belichick plays his man coverage possibilities. It's a favorite pastime of so many. Like you mentioned, Luke, sometimes they'll just take J.C. Jackson or Stephon Gilmore and years past a Darrelle Revis and just say, look, you're the one, they're the one, you're on them. Other times what they'll do is, like you said, they'll take the top guy and put him on wide receiver number 2 and then give, the cornerback that in this case will get Corey Davis some dedicated safety help over the top with Devin McCourty or bracket him with somebody else underneath. It's a bit tougher to do that with this Jets defense to sort of play that game because the J.C. Jackson and then say Elijah Moore matchup, like that's not one that I think Bill Belichick would feel comfortable with. It might be a situation where they take J.C. Jackson, put him on Corey Davis, and then they try to get, a shiftier slot type defender, whether that's a Jonathan Jones, who they like against receivers like Elijah Moore, put him on Elijah Moore. Last week you saw a lot of Jalen Waddle. You saw a lot of Jonathan Jones against him, and they really trust Jonathan Jones against those sort of change of direction types. And so I think that might be the matchup that we see Bill Belichick play. But I've gambled and lost on predicting a lot of these Bill Belichick matchups because he always seems to have something else up his, his cut hooded sleeve there. I do think you're right, though. When you watch that Jets offense last week, Corey Davis and Zach Wilson seemed to be on the same page already. One of my favorite throws from Zach Wilson from last week was that in-cut dig route from left to right early in the game when he had the 1-2 concept. He was reading on the right, resets the feet, throws the dig in the middle of the field. Defenders a step late, 35-yard gain or something like that from Davis. Obviously, the touchdown scramble drill type of moment with a quarterback and receiver were on the same page. And so Davis looks to be a great weapon for this Jets offense. That team could have scored more points if Wilson and Elijah Moore connected on that vertical route. They could have put up some more points if they had connected on that one. But I think in terms of Corey Davis, you will see a lot of J.C. Jackson on him and then Jonathan Jones against Elijah Moore. I think that's kind of how they'll play it.
Mark, I asked you this a couple of months ago when you were on the show. Give me your kind of initial reaction to Zach Wilson. He had an up and down day, as I mentioned at the top. There was under a fair amount of duress. He was pressured 52% of the time in true drop back situations. He had 3 turnover worthy throws, 3 big time plays. What did you think of Zach Wilson and how he handled the rookie performance?
I thought he played well overall, especially given the context of the pressure he was under, the duress that he was under in the pocket, the throws he was trying to make late. I mean, we all saw that late throw to Denzel Mims when he gets flushed. It's the go flat. He's got a cover 2 look. And if you're great at it, like if you want to be dogmatic about it, like maybe he subtly moves in the pocket. It doesn't crash towards a lot of scrimmage, but I think he's buying time to make a play in a splash play kind of moment. And that was a ridiculous throw. I mean, defender in his ribs, like that was a very impressive throw. You had Dan Orlovsky highlighted. Bill Belichick himself went to the balustrader, and he broke that play down and said, this is a very good throw. There were some things that he probably cleaned up, the interception, maybe a step late with that, maybe could have been better with his eyes on that play. But I like the dig to Davis. The scramble drill was a very nice play. That late throw to Mims. He certainly checks all the boxes from an arm and a talent perspective. My concern as somebody studying quarterbacks is, can they protect him? That's a worry right now. You saw the pressure he was under last week. Now Mekhi Becton is down. So you might be sliding guys around up front. You want to see an ability to sort of protect him better. He played behind a very good offensive line at BYU. I want to see if they can protect him better, give him cleaner pockets to throw from. But I thought, look, from what we've seen in the preseason, from what we've seen here in week 1, certainly has the talent and the toughness and the competitive toughness to play this position at a high level. Now I just want to see him protected better and be a bit faster with his reads and decisions.
You mentioned the offensive line, Mark, and I wanted to finish there because if the Jets have any ambition of winning this football game, they need to play a lot better up front. I think that's an absolute given. There were too many reps we saw against the Carolina Panthers, and I'll patch this play in where they walked the Sam in the slot corner on the left-hand side over Mekhi Becton. They bailed out. Zach Wilson thought he was going to be hot from that side, and Brian Burns came in unmarked and sacked him from the other side of the defensive line. Bill Belichick's the master of that. In 2019, there was the seeing ghost game with Sam Darnold. You saw linebackers all over the line of scrimmage, even against Miami. These bare fronts with 2 and 3 down linemen, walk the Will and Sam down. Who's coming? Then you blitz Dante Hightower and, Kyle Van Noy. He's so multiple up front. They're going to ask a ton of questions. Do you think they'll blitz more out of those looks than they did against Miami? Because a lot of times in the first half, they bailed the Will and the Sam. They played the flats, and they still just bring forward these perceived pressure looks. Do you think, based on what the Jets put out on tape, he's going to bring more pressure?
I think he will, and I think a good play for Jets fans to look at in terms of what I'm expected to see from Bill Belichick this week. The sack from Kyle Van Noy, first quarter, 2:49 mark. It's a 3rd and 11 situation. And I think you're going to see this kind of look walked up over the left side now because you have Elijah Vera Tucker, rookie guard, new face tackle with Mekhi Becton down. So they're doing this to the right side, but you'll probably see it over the left side now because you've got Christian Barmore, their rookie defensive tackle, head up on the center. And then from that B gap between the right guard and the right tackle on the outside, you have Dante Hightower in a 2-point stance walked up in the B gap. You have Kyle Van Noy in the outside shoulder of the right tackle, and you have Matthew Judon outside them. So you've got head up on the center, and then you've got those 3 defenders walked up from that B gap outside. And all of those guys come, and then backside, all you have is Josh Uche, wide 9 alignment outside the left tackle. Those are the 5 guys that come. It's hard to get that blocked up. They try to have Myles Gaskin in a wing, undersized running back to take Matthew Judon on. He does what he can, but he gets walked back into his lap. And Josh Uche doesn't get home on this play, but he's pretty good. They trust him in one-on-one situations. Just flip that. I would imagine you're going to see that walked up look over those, the rookie left guard, the left tackle, try to get those pressure games done, Barmore on the interior, and then trust in Josh Uche on the other side to, win a one-on-one, collapse the pocket that way. I think they're going to bring pressure. They saw the numbers we saw, right? With Zach Wilson, struggled a bit against pressure, try to get pressure on him, move him off the spot. He's going to create. He's athletic. He might make some scramble drill splash type plays like the touchdown to Davis, but I think they'll take their chances that more often than not, they'll disrupt, they'll frustrate him, they'll move him off the spot, and they'll force some poor throws, some incompletions, and get off the field on 3rd down.
Mark, appreciate you coming on and sharing all your knowledge about the quarterback position, about the New England Patriots. Last thing I'll leave you with, The Jets are 6.5-point home dogs here in Australia. The over-under is 44.5. Do you think this game goes under with the trend of these two teams? Give me kind of a prediction based on those two lines.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely take the under in this one. I mean, this is a game where, you've got two rookie quarterbacks, you've got two defensive-minded head coaches, Robert Saleh, Bill Belichick. I think the defenses are going to do some things, force some mistakes from both these rookie quarterbacks. I mean, I think, look, this is an environment where you might see, a kind of like a 17-14 kind of game. I think New England wins. I saw 5.5 early. Now that it's 6.5, that has me kind of hedging a little bit. Initially, I saw 5.5. I thought, maybe New England wins this one like 17-10 or something like that. Now that's 6.5. You're starting to push that, one touchdown kind of thing. It's a divisional game. These tend to be close games. Two rookie quarterbacks. You might see, a close game as well. And so, initially 5.5. I took New England. 6.5 has me hedging on that one a bit, but I do think the under is a smart play here.
Yeah, I agree. It's Mark Schofield from USA Today and The Wire. Mark, give us a rundown of what's in The Wire. You do incredible work. If you're not following Mark on Twitter, make sure you do. He's one of the best out there. What's in the pipeline for you and what you've got coming up?
Well, Luke, thanks so much for having me. This was a blast. Always fun to, get a chance to catch up with you. USA Today's Touchdown Wire. I just did a video breakdown of JT Daniels against Clemson. I watched him, so you don't have to. You can check that out on the website, on YouTube, the YouTube channel as well. I just broke down Taylor Heineke. You can check that out. Broke down Daniel Jones. You can check that out. Easiest way, though, is on Twitter at Mark Schofield. That's the way you can catch up with everything.
That's Mark Schofield. I'm Luke Grant. Thanks for joining us with Flight into Enemy Territory. New England Patriots versus the Jets for the home opener. Let's get it. Let's see how they go on Sunday, and go Jets.